You are not made. You forge yourself. And you do not forge with money, or your surname, or the praise of strangers. I tell you this as someone who lost all three. Your will is your only real capital. You live in a century that counts everything: hours, steps, clicks, ratings. The world points at your diploma, your job, your apartment, your passport, your profile, and says, "This is your value." You nod, you chase, you upgrade, and somewhere inside, you still feel poor. I know this poverty. I have worn it like a second skin. Once I had a title, a position, respect. Then my health broke. The university door closed behind me. My name vanished from the corridor. What remained was not my reputation. It was one stubborn decision. I will not rot in bitterness. I will go on thinking. I will go on writing. When the costume was torn away, I saw the truth. My only wealth was my will. Everything else had been on loan. Your world is different from mine, but the lesson is the same. A banker in New York watches the numbers on his screen melt in a single afternoon. 15 years of climbing vanish before his coffee cools. A designer in Berlin opens an email that begins, "We regret to inform you. Her usefulness is dismissed," in a single polite paragraph. A young man in Madrid sends out 100 CVs. No answer, just silence, sitting in his inbox like a stone. In those moments, all the slogans about human capital ring hollow. The market does not care about your dreams. The company does not remember your sacrifices. The city does not ask where you go when the office lights go out. I have said it before. The herd has no memory for the individual. So I ask you, when title, salary, and routine are stripped away, what is left standing inside you? If the only thing that rises is complaint, you have invested in everything except yourself. Your will is the quiet refusal to stay down, the power to say after humiliation once more, to carry fate on your shoulders instead of dragging it like a chain. I call this the dignity of the one who wills. It is often small and invisible. You sit back down to study. After failing, you show up to practice. After a bad game, you tell the truth when hiding would be easier. You choose not to drown in self-pity, even when you have every excuse. From the outside, nothing dramatic happens. Inside, something changes. You stop living as a witness. You start living as an author. This is what I meant when I wrote, "Become who you are." Look at your own continent. In the Midwest of the United States, a factory shuts its doors. A man in his 50s walks out carrying a cardboard box. 30 years on the line. Now the hall is empty. He sits in his car and stares at the wheel. He can decide. His story has ended. Many do. There is another option. No one will see it but him. He can say, "I am still here." He can learn something new, fix things in garages, refuse to let his life shrink to television and resentment. The world may never notice, but as long as he wills, he is not scrap. He is still a man. In a small apartment near Paris, a young woman works 2 jobs. Daytime in a cafe, evenings cleaning offices. At night, half asleep, she sits on a hard chair in a programming course. No one celebrates her. Her friends say she is wasting her youth. Her back hurts. Her eyes burn. Sometimes she cries quietly on the bus. But each month she steps a little further from the life everyone told her was her limit. Her real capital is not in her bank account. It is in the decision she makes at midnight to open her laptop again. I would call her more noble than many who sit on velvet chairs. In a winter hospital night, a nurse stands in a silent corridor. The air smells of disinfectant and fear. She is past tired. Another alarm, another patient. She cannot fix staffing. She cannot rewrite budgets. She cannot decide who lives and who dies. But she can decide one thing. Will she become numb or stay present? Will she see the old man in bed 4 as a human being or as a number? Will she let bitterness hollow her out, or let her fatigue become a price she chooses to pay to remain a person? In a system that treats people like cases, no one will ever fully repay her. But something in her grows each time she refuses to betray herself. These are not fairy tales. No one is promised a happy ending. They may stay poor. They may never be recognized. Their lives may remain hard. But as long as they still will, they are not being carried. They are pushing back. They hold something the world cannot repossess. So what is this will? I keep praising. It is not a sweet feeling, not enthusiasm. Enthusiasm shouts in the morning and dies by evening. Will is quieter. Will stays. A wish says, how nice it would be. Will says, I will pay the price. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. You cannot see will directly. You see its trace in whether a person runs from every difficulty or sometimes deliberately runs toward one. You strengthen will like a muscle by taking on weight you could avoid. Not only the weight life throws at you, but the weight you choose. The extra hour of honest work, when good enough, would pass. The hard conversation you start instead of keeping the polite lie. The lonely evening with your own thoughts instead of drowning in noise. Each time you do this, life grows heavier and you grow denser, less easy to blow away. Your culture worships comfort. You are told to build a life with no sharp edges, balanced, protected, entertained. But a life that never cuts you will never carve you. When you remove all risk, you do not get peace. You get stagnation. You can spend your will on outrage, on endless commentary, on rehearsing your wounds until they become your only identity. Many do. They grow tired, cynical, helpless. Then they blame the world. Or you can spend your will on something inside you. That cannot be taken, a craft, a character, a courage that speaks. When silence is safer, a clarity that walks away, even at a cost. These things are built like walls, one hard brick at a time. I will not promise you fairness. Life will still strike illness, accident, betrayal, loss. I knew this in my own body. Pain that did not end. Rooms that felt like graves. The world did not turn gentle because I chose to be strong. But something did change in me. I stopped asking for guarantees. I began to will, for its own sake. This is what I want for you. Stop bargaining with existence. Stop saying, if I try, I must succeed. If I am brave, the world must reward me. The world is not a contract. It is a sea. You are not promised calm water. You are given a boat and a pair of hands. So what do you do with this one short life? Do not write a list of 50 goals. Choose one place where you will treat your will as real capital, one skill. You will finally begin to learn one habit. You will finally stop feeding one truth. You will finally speak. Begin clumsily, begin afraid. All real beginnings feel like this. Tonight, when the screen goes dark, ask yourself, if everything I have were taken, work, money, status, even country, how much strength to begin again would remain in my chest? That number is your true net worth. If the answer frightens you, good. Fear means you have stopped lying to yourself. From there, your task is simple, not easy. Live as if your will matters. Guard it from distraction and cynicism. Train it with small, difficult acts. Spend it on something you would be proud to fail at. One day, another letter will come, another phone call, another result. On that day, you will discover what you have really been forging. A fragile tower of externals, or a person who can say, through tears if necessary, I am hurt, but I am not finished. Remember this: your job title is not your capital. Your passport is not your capital. Your followers are not your capital. Even your wounds are not your capital. They are circumstances, props, scars. Your will is your only real capital. Guard it, deepen it, spend it on a life that even in failure you can still call your own. And in doing so, you obey the only command I ever cared about: become who you are.